Today we're talking to Altrincham Manager Phil Parkinson. We're just ahead of the very busy Christmas period with 3 huge games against Stockport County at Edgeley Park, and then 2 home games against Wrexham and the return fixture with County. Phil, our last action was on Saturday night, Meadow Lane, Notts County 2, Altrincham 1. I thought it was a terrific game of football, and I thought we acquitted ourselves very, very well.
We were very unlucky. We played very well, as you said there. I think they had a moment in the game where Tom had to make a few saves. I think it was the opening 12 minutes of the second half. Well, I know it is because I've watched it back about 100 times. So, yeah, we did really well, and we played a different system without a recognised striker, so to speak, and it worked very well. I think, well, from what I've seen when I've watched a lot of Notts County this season, obviously leading up to the game, there's not many teams, if any teams, that I've seen had the amount of possession in dangerous areas to the amount that we had, the dominant play that we demonstrated against a very, very good team. And we rode our luck at times, but you have to against these good teams. And unfortunately, with the result, we're not getting the results that our performances are demanding at the moment, which is really frustrating for everyone involved at the football club.
They're an interesting team, a very good team, Notts County, as you say. They had a good start to the season. We were the first team to beat them. They had a little bit of a rocky run, and they ended up losing 2 further games. But since then, they've been very consistent. Their home form, outstanding.
Well, you just turn up there, don't you? And it's a championship outfit, this stadium, the way that they get the matches on and they conduct themselves. It's a much higher level than where we currently are, and they shouldn't be in this division. Everybody knows that, but there's a number of clubs who could say that. So it's a great challenge for our players when you go there and you're playing against really high-level, elite, non-league footballers. And unfortunately, when they're on their A game, as we saw for their second goal, we can pick the bones out of it all we want. It was an excellent goal. And unfortunately, we're not as cutthroat as that in both boxes, defensively and offensively. Box to box, we're superb. And that's not to say we're poor defensively, even though we're leaking goals. It's really hard to nail an individual down or a common theme. We can say about set pieces, restarts, but every team in the division's good at them, so you've always got to be on your mettle with stuff like that. But just mistakes are killing us at the moment with regards a bad touch, which led to a lunge and then a penalty. It was just never coming. They hadn't had a shot up until that point, and that's what's most disappointing at the moment. But then their second goal was just a touch of brilliance from Rodriguez on the turn, and an unbelievable through ball. I think it was Richardson on the overlap, pulls it back perfectly. Connor Hampson's done nothing wrong in terms of his positional play, but the ball's that good, the run's that good, the execution of the pass and the finish. And again, that's difficult to take at times because you could stop every goal, but when sometimes you've got to go, do you know what, that was a really good goal, and the goals we're scoring are very good goals. But unfortunately, we're missing too many opportunities, and people might say we haven't played an out-and-out striker. Our top goal scorers are a 10 and both wingers. And we had an idea of how we wanted to play that night, and it nearly paid off for us, but nearly doesn't get you a result.
Certainly the way that Ben Pringle, Matty Costello and Ryan Colclough adapted to the new system, I thought it was excellent for the first game.
It was. I mean, it's full credit to Neil on the training pitch with the lads, the effort that they put in to be able to do that, because you've got to remember we're practising that shape for an hour and a half and not a full hour and a half. It's integrated into the session, whereas other teams are preparing daily for coming up against ourselves. So I bore myself sometimes saying that, but that's the harsh reality of the world we live in. But to see the level of performance that our players could hit was a joy to watch at times, but very difficult to take when you're losing. And I'll be honest with you, it's really, really frustrating at the moment.
Also, there were some terrific individual performances on Saturday night. Tony Thompson had a great game. Cheshire Senior, outstanding. I thought Toby Malarkey was terrific, and Jake Moult.
To play as well as we did, everybody has to play well, so it's difficult for me to single anybody out. They all played the part. There's always going to be outstanding performers at certain points in the game, but for me the team was superb and didn't deserve to lose that game. At least should have took them to penalties. So as I said, it's really difficult to take when you play that well and don't get anything, but we've had a number of them over the last couple of weeks.
on the previous Tuesday, we went out to the Cheshire Senior Cup against Nantwich, and that felt very much like a game whereby players who haven't been regulars in the first team had an opportunity to put themselves on show. And apart from Ben Pringle, we didn't really see that.
No, we let ourselves down. The first half, we conceded more chances than I've seen us concede all season, which was really disappointed. The intensity and levels that Nantwich hit, especially after a great start. Maybe we thought it was going to be too easy when we scored the early goal, but the levels of performance weren't there. Second half is a different matter. Again, I've watched it back. I felt completely different when I watched it back. The amount of chances we created, we should have easily have drawn the game, if not gone on to win it. But Nantwich deserved the victory with the effort they put in. I'm certainly not going to take anything away from them. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There was opportunities there for lads to impress, and unfortunately didn't. And maybe that's down to a lack of game time. But playing against the team 2 divisions below, we still should have had enough to be able to go on and win that game with the training that they have, the professionalism that they're expected to uphold, which is never in question with the players that we have here. They're very, very good. But unfortunately, that demonstrated that maybe some of them aren't quite where they need to be, hence why a few have gone out on loan as well.
And you mentioned the loanees. Brad Jackson has gone to Buxton for a month. He got injured at Southport in the FA Cup over 2 months ago with a hamstring injury. And he's fit now, and he's got an opportunity to go into a title race with Buxton, who are going very, very well this season, and a real up-and-coming club.
Absolutely. I mean, Buxton are a massive club at the NPL. They always have been ever since I've played in that division and managed in that division. They're always a team who are punching and trying to get out of it, and they have a real good go at it. And they look like they might do it this time. And the reason we've sent Brad there is because we could have kept him with us and maybe drip-fed him some minutes, but I don't think that's going to benefit Brad. The reason we've sent him not just 1 division below, 2 divisions below, is obviously it's a hamstring injury that he suffered with, and maybe it's not going to have the same stresses and strains on his body that it would do at the Conference North or the National League level. So he should still be able to be at 80%, getting up to 90 to 100% at that level and still be a top player. So Buxton are certainly getting a very good player going there, so he's not letting them down. But also he's getting the minutes and the intensities that he needs to get back here, because that's ultimately where I want all the lads who've gone out. They've all gone out for different reasons. His is certainly fitness, game time and confidence.
Tom Pearce has gone to Curzon Ashton in National League North for a month, and some people might be surprised by that, because Tom Pearce is pretty regular in the 16, and he started quite a few games this season, and he's done well this season, but he hasn't had many minutes in recent weeks.
No, and that was a big reason in terms of the minutes, and it affects all strikers when they don't score, and Tom, as hard as he's worked, probably hasn't had the return that he normally delivers when he's on the pitch, and he has probably had more game time than he's had in previous seasons from starting games as well. And I just felt it was a good opportunity with the players that we've got coming back and the shape and the system that we're looking to play and what we'd like to bring in as well, because we're not just sending lads out without bringing people in. So with regards to Tom, it's about going out, playing some games, scoring goals and coming back absolutely flying, and that will only benefit us. So if he goes for a month, scores lots of goals or gets the minutes that he needs and gets the confidence that he needs to come back in, and then he goes again, because like you said, when you're not playing, and I think we could see that in the Cheshire Senior Cup, I'm not saying Tom was miles off it, but when you're not playing, it is hard to maintain them levels that you need to come in and play at the National League level.
And one move that's probably not going to be a surprise to Altrincham fans is Matt Gould going back to Nantwich Town. Had a very good, very successful spell there earlier in the season, was only recalled because of the injury to Tony Thompson at Yeovil. But Tony's going really well, having another great season. He needs games as well, and Nantwich is an obvious move.
Yeah, listen, Matt came as a number 2. He knew what he was, but it was more about a goalkeeping coach number 2 as well, and playing as and when required. He knew what he was walking into when he came to the club. I think when he went out to Nantwich, it sort of gave him the itch again, and obviously Stephen Drench coming back in has allowed us to let him go out, because that was another issue. We couldn't just let him go out if we didn't have a goalkeeping coach. So Matt obviously still has that thirst to play. He's a very good keeper, as we all know. So I'll certainly not stand in his way, and we'll have to see where it goes for Matt, because obviously, as you said, Tony's having a great season. We've got Drenchy there as a goalkeeper coach, and again, I'd have no qualms if Tony went down and put in Drenchy in. He can still do. He still gets involved in training sessions, so we're certainly not sure if anything goes wrong.
And we've got a very young keeper on the sidelines as well in Ryan Ford, who was in the youth team at 16, again in the youth team this year in the FA Youth Cup, and has graduated to the reserves. And now he's gone to Colne in the Northern Premier League West Division. Good standard of football. For a young keeper, that's going to be a fantastic experience.
Well, he's kept a clean sheet on his debut, hasn't he? So I'm sure he had gloating rights at training the other night when he came back in. But yeah, he's a keeper we've got high hopes for, and I'd like to think everyone can see what we're trying to do here is develop players, and hopefully one day he'll be on that pitch for us, just as the other lads I know you're going to mention after, but the other young lads we've got out on loan, we monitor them weekly. There's other young lads who we haven't signed who we monitor because we know we're not a big buying club. We've got to be able to spot those diamonds in the rough, develop those young players, and Ryan's certainly a player that we've got high hopes for in the future.
Marcus Denanga's going to Kidderminster Harriers for a month. They're a club having a great season in the third round of the FA Cup. Marcus won't be able to be involved in that because he's cup tied, of course. But he's going to a big club who've got aspirations to get into this league. He lives in Birmingham, so it makes sense for him because he definitely needs minutes and he needs goals.
Yeah, you've just hit the nail on the head, the goal side of it, because again, another reason why Tom and himself have gone out is the goals, but also that affects your confidence. And although they're very confident people, you wouldn't know to speak to them. Strikers feed off that. They need that goal, that confidence that gives them that swagger when they're walking around. Because Marcus and Tom, there's not a great deal wrong with the general play. If anything wrong with the general play, they're both very similar in that sense. You could toss a coin in terms of who you're going to play. They have different attributes. But the hold-up play is excellent. The running in behind, the defensive bits that we ask them to do. But ultimately, we're missing too many chances. And it's not just on them as well, by the way, but it affects them. So my mindset is they go out while there's a lot of games being played at the level below. Hopefully, go and score some goals, come back here, and Altrincham just get the benefits of that. And
right throughout your 5 seasons at Altrincham, you've always been keen to implement that policy or that strategy, and you don't like players sat in the stand, not doing anything, not getting minutes. You want them out playing football.
No, absolutely, because if players aren't going to make squads, it's one, there's no getting away from it, wasted money for the football club, and we all know what's going on in the world at the moment. I have to be very aware of that. I need to make sure we're as frugal as possible. But also, it's good for the players as well. There's nothing better than playing football. The only negative for the players is why they don't want to go on loan. No player really wants to leave the parent club, is because they feel out of sight, out of mind, and I can completely relate to that. But the only reassurance that I give our players is pretty much all of them, 90% of the time, will get a weekly call, an update from myself, a general chat to find out how they're doing. And that takes up a lot of time, that, to be able to do that. People don't think that, but it does, because you've got to get the information from the scouts who've been to watch them, the footage that you've seen. But it's really important. There's no point in sending them out. You might as well just transfer them if you've got no real appetite to bring them back. I believe in every single player that we've got out on loan at the moment. I still believe they've got a big future here. It's just down to them to get that confidence they need to get into this team, and when they're in this team, they know they'll be played if they play well.
Will Hall has extended his loan at Ashton United, and he's on a good upward trajectory in terms of his career. Loaned out to Whitchurch Allport last season in the North West Counties, went to Ramsbottom in the Northern Premier League First Division. Now he's gone a step further to the Northern Premier League Premier Division, and things going well for him at Hurst Cross. Yeah, Will's a great young prospect. He's a fantastic. He's got all the fantastic attributes you would look for in a centre half. He's fearless. He's a good size. He's comfortable on the ball. He's just got to learn the game. He lost out on a lot of game time with COVID when that hit for one reason or another. Fortunately, we've got it absolutely bang on, I feel we will this time, in terms of going to Ramsbottom, the confidence that gave him his hometown club. They were absolutely loving him there, and then obviously an opportunity with Mike Clegg, a good friend of mine at Ashton United, was willing to take him. He likes young, hungry centre-halves who were a little bit rough and ready, what Will is. And he went in as a right-back to start with because he's more than comfortable there, but it was just a foot in the door, and he's had an opportunity to now stake a claim for the centre-half spot for the next month.
and it's down to Will to show that he can hold down that position. And hopefully we'll reassess then at the end of that loan period, and maybe even go Conference North, or if he's doing really well and we're happy with his progression, keep him there till the end of the season, or even bring him in with us. It all depends on where we are at that point. But we certainly, again, like I said right at the start, we've got high hopes for these young players.
And a player that Altrincham fans may have forgotten about is James Berry, who we signed on a contract at the start of the season. Same day we loaned him out to Macclesfield Town. That loan's coming to an end at the beginning of next year. So what's likely to happen there?
Yeah, James will continue there. He's having a great time. I was looking to do what I did with Will in terms of sending him higher, but with James it's about confidence, minutes. He's getting that. Obviously, the pressure of having to win that league, because Macclesfield, every game, they know they've got to win every game, which every team will say that, but everyone knows the expectation at Macclesfield this season and probably for the next couple, because they're so big at the level. So he's playing under a lot of pressure as well. He's blossoming. He's listening to the feedback, all the defensive information that he's been sent, because that was the big question marks over James. Can he do his defensive duties, which I know sounds strange that you would emphasise that so much for a winger, but it is big, because if he can't do that, it doesn't matter how good he is going forward. If he lets us down defensively, then that'll be an issue. He's blossoming in that area. He's doing all the things that we're asking him from the feedback, and obviously heavily liaise with Jimmy Holmes there and Danny Whitaker. So they give me lots of feedback that I relay to him in terms of what we'd like to see from him when we do get him scouted.
And these players are going to be playing in some big games whilst they're out on loan. I think Macclesfield have already sold over 3,000 tickets for their game on Boxing Day or Monday. Brad Jackson's going to be playing for Buxton at Matlock in a huge derby, top of the table clash, and Will Hall's going to FC United, or playing against FC United. So these are very, very competitive games with big crowds, and again, that's going to really add to the experience for these lads.
No, definitely, and we've missed a couple as well, haven't we? And Andy White at FC United, who's regaining lots of fitness. He obviously played very little football over the last year with his injury, and he's progressing brilliantly. He might need another month actually. We're going to go watch him, hopefully between our Boxing Day fixture and Wrexham, because I think theirs is the 27th. I'll have to check that. But again, we're hoping to get to see him because he's a big player for us. If we can get Andy White anywhere near fit, then he's going to be a big. It's like signing a new player basically. And then Curtis Miller at Trafford as well. Again, that lad feels a little bit forgotten about, but he's certainly not. I think he's Altrincham through and through, and he's a real bright prospect, Curtis, and he's doing exceptionally well at Trafford at the moment.
And we played at Meadow Lane last Saturday, possibly the best stadium that Altrincham Football Club's ever played a league game in. I know last Saturday was a FA Trophy, but last season in the league. This Sunday, Boxing Day, we're at Edgeley Park, another superb stadium. And then it's Wrexham at home and Stockport County at home in front of huge crowds, hopefully here at the J. Davidson Stadium. It's absolutely, I can't remember a more exciting Christmas and New Year period.
No, it's absolutely exciting. It's why we all wanted to be in this division, as difficult as it is and as frustrating as it has been over the last couple of weeks. These are the games we want to play in, aren't they? So it's what we worked ever so hard when we first come in the NPL to get them promotions, to play in this division, to test ourselves against the best in non-league, and the really exciting fixtures to go into, and the ones that you don't really have to worry about getting the players up for, because you know you have to be. They're absolutely massive fixtures, and like I said, it feels like that every week in this division, but them in particular are special ones.
That's the thoughts of Phil Parkinson ahead of a big Christmas and New Year period with these three massive games, 2 against Stockport County away and then at home, and Wrexham at the J. Davidson Stadium on Tuesday afternoon.